Okay, we're beginning. We're up to the Mishnah Nun Hey Amid Aleph. Nun Hey Amid Aleph. The Chachamim Mairim BeYehuda. We saw the opening dialogue of the Perek was that what the place where the minig is not to do malacha on Patul Chatzos, you didn't, and the place where you did, you did. After Chatzos, everyone held it B'tzasa. This Mishnah seems to repeat it, and then it adds one on top of that. The Chachamim Mairim BeYehuda Haya Oisim Malacha Ba'Arei Pesachim. In the area of Eretz Yisrael that was known as Yehuda, they did malacha at Chatzos. Ubegala loy haya oisin kol ikar. In Gala didn't work at all. So Pashtus should say that's the minig that Yehuda went after the minig where you did malacha, and Gala went after the minig. The northern part of Eretz Yisrael they didn't. Alayla, the night before, Beishamay oisrin. Beishamay says it's asa. And Kol Shekain Yudalit it's asa. Right? Ubeisol matir not hanetzachama. That's very interesting because it says the lashon of oisrin and matirin. That's mashma. It's not a minig. It's mashma. It's issa v'heta. Fading right away. Meikaratana min haga. Initially, you learn the minig either in the first mishnah of our perek or this mishnah will be soif tani surah, and then you say issa v'heta. What is it? So I'm Rav Yochanan like Kash. It's not a problem. Rav Meir, Rav Yehuda. Rav Meir holds it's a minig. So he's the tana of the first mishnah in the perek and the opening salvo of our mishnah. And the latter part that says it's totally in issa v'heta is Rav Yehuda. The Tanya, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, says Rabbi Yehuda. Amar Rabbi Yehuda says Rabbi Yehuda. Be Yehuda ein oisin malacha ba'arvei pesachim. In Yehuda, they didn't do malacha on Erev Pesach at Chatzos. Or begalul ein oisin kolika. Amar Rabbi Meir, ma raya Yehuda begalul kan. Whatever they do. Since it's a minig, so good, that's their minig. But l'chayr, could be contingent on our minig. They don't influence us. It's minig. Right. Forget about Yehuda. Forget about Galo. What's our minig? Now, Rabbi Meir mentions the word minig, and Rabbi Yehuda didn't. Michlal, we can infer Rabbi Yehuda. We can infer that Rabbi Yehuda Isura Kamar. Rabbi Yehuda was speaking about Issa. Rabbi Yehuda was speaking about Issa. We're up to Nun Hey Amid Aleph, Rabbi. 2 lines where it gets wide. So. Okay, so l'chayr we had a kasha. What was the kasha? That apparently it begins the Mishnah that's speaking it's a minig. Then it goes ahead and says it's an issa. So you want to say that's really machlokes tanoim. Rabbi Meir is the one who holds it's a minig, and Rabbi Yehuda is the one who holds it is issa. Now, Rabbi Yehuda arba asam mutta basiyas malacha. You want to tell me that Rabbi Yehuda would say on the 14th day it's mutta before chatzos to do malacha? But Tanya Rabbi Yehuda omer hamenachesh. You're weeding. You're pulling out things from the ground. And inadvertently, instead of a weed, you must have pulled out a standing grain. Now, we know the halacha of omer. The omer is mater, all standing grain. Anything that was in the ground and considered growing on Tesai Nisan is now considered yashan. What happens if it didn't take root until after Tesai Nisan? Then you'd have to wait till the next year to go ahead and eat it. That would be what? That would be chadash. Good? So now what happened was, as he was weeding, he pulled out inadvertently a plant, a grain, and now he's replanting it. How many days in advance does he have to replant it in order for to be considered nishrash, rooted, for the omer to matter it? That's what's occurring over here. So the son of Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, hamenachesh b'shloisha asar. If someone is weeding on the 16th day of the 13th day of Nisan, the nekra biyadai, and is oika with his hands. Shaisla b'makam hatit, replanted in a place of moist soil. Ve'in shaisla, but do not replant it b'makam hagrid, in a place of what? Of dry. Hey, that's where the word gridiron comes from, Benji. Right? Grid, dry land. B'shleisha asa, in mashma 13th day you could work, but arba asa lo, on the 14th you can't work. So how can it be able to say that that's a place that's mutter to work? You work. L'chayra, he didn't permit it because you see over here. Because why? Shamina Rabbi Yehuda Dama said we heard Rabbi Yehuda Nechti says the Gemara. We heard from Rabbi Yehuda the Amar Kol Har Kava, any graft for Huadin, any replanting She'ena Koletes the Shleisha Yamim that doesn't go ahead and take root or be considered being nurtured from a tree for 3 days. Shuvena koletes. It's not going to be koletes. Now, the isal kedaitach. Let's develop our question. If you say arba asa is permitted to siyas malacha, and you only need 3 days in order for it what to take root, lamali shloisha asa. Why do we have to say a case where he replanted on the 13th? Right, I can have him replant on the 14th. For ikar arbisa, the 14th, the chamiser, the 15th, umiktsas shitzer, and part of the 16th, and miktsas ayom kekulai. Ella, when he said you have to replant it on the 13th, it's because you couldn't work on the 14th. So very good shot. Amarava, the Galul Shana, you have no raya. Ken Zaini holds you could work on the 14th. Why did he learn the 13th? Because it's speaking in Galul where they said, Leisasu malacha kol ikka. They didn't do any malacha at all. But Einachnami, Rabbi Yehuda, in Yehuda would hold, you can go ahead and you, by accident, pulled it out on the 14th, you will be able to replant it on the 14th and 15th and part of the 16th. So that raya that you wanted to bring that you can't work on the 14th is speaking the Golo. You're right. No one works on the 14th in Golo. Fred Gemara Vika Laila, Yechaira, why do you have the 13th? You can have the night of the 14th, the night of the 14th, then you don't have to work on the 14th because you work the night of it, and you have 14, 15, and 16. So Rav Sheshes says, Kibei Shammai, going to Shitas Beis Shammai did not let you work the night before. Kibei Shammai, we're going to Shitas Beis Shammai did not let you work the night before. Rav Ashi Amalel Kibei Hillel, it's like Beis Hillel. And you know why we didn't learn the night before? It's not the normal to go ahead and start weeding around plants at night. And therefore, we learned the 13th. Ravina has a different teretz. Guys, what happens? You want to know why you learned the 13th? Listen to this outside. If you would have pulled it out on the 14th, that means you replanted on the 14th, correct? So you didn't have the whole 14. You only had part of the day of the 14. You had the whole 15. And then you only had part of the day at the 16 because they're going to bring the carbon midday or earlier. So with Nimsa, you'd have mixas 14, a full 15, and mixas 16. One mixas will say 13, 14 you can work, 15, a mixas 16. But two mixas, a 14 and a 16, that we won't say. Says the Gemara, Ravina Amalaylam be Yehuda, it's speaking Yehuda. And really, you could work on the 14th. So why do you learn the 13th? Regarding taking root, chad mixas hayom kikula aminon, trei mixas hayom kikuloi loy aminon. We say one, we do not say that. We don't say two, and that would answer why he learned the 13th. Says the Mishnah, Rabbi Meir Omer, kol malacha shehischil ba koydem la'arba asa, any malacha that you began before the 14th, goymer ba'arba asa, you can complete on the 14th. Now, l'chayra, we have to see, is this something that you need for the yantif or not need for the yantif? That's where it's going to clear the shaila. This halacha about working, is it speaking where you need it's a tzarech moed or not tzarech moed? Do not begin at the beginning of arba asa, even if you can go ahead and complete it. So again, one more time. Says Reb Meir, any malacha that you can begin and you can complete, right? However, do not begin a malacha on the 14th, even if you're able to complete it. There are 3 workers who can go ahead and complete malacha on Erev Pesach. Well, who are they? Ad chatzos. Eloheim hachayatin. Chayatin are tailors. The hasaparim, those are barbers. The hakoivsim and launderers. The rule of thumb is the following: these 3 people would be able to do malacha on Chol HaMoed. Chol HaMoed is certainly more severe. Chol HaMoed certainly is more severe than what? Than your dalit. So if you can do these malachas on Chol HaMoed, certainly you can do them on your dalit. Now the reason you can do them is a person gets out of prison on Chol HaMoed, you can take a haircut and wash his clothing, as we'll see. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehudi is another one. Omer, Afrat Sanim, even shoemakers are able to go ahead and work on the Yudalit Chatzos. Now the question is, Rabbi Meir's heta of all malacha that you can begin. What are we speaking about? Iboilahu. When it said that anything that you could do on the 14th, you can begin on the 14th, you can complete on the 14th. Is that dafka something that is necessary for Pesach? I feel a migmar nami loy, that even those you can't complete. you can complete, but you can stop, but you can't complete. Maybe we're speaking about things that you are not necessary for the moed. Those you can't complete. But you could begin. So again, when the Mishnah said, Rabbi says, all malacha that you began before 14th you can complete, right? So you shouldn't begin in the beginning of the 14th. What are we speaking about? If it's something that's not that is necessary for the moed, then it's certainly something that's not necessary for the moed. If it's something that's necessary for the moed, you can that you'll be able to begin. By Dilma, no difference. You can complete, but as schulei lo you can't begin. That's the shaila. Tashma. The Mishnah said, do not begin something on arba asa. Afilu tzilsel cotton, even a small belt. Afilu tzvacha katana, a hairnet. We had these in the Shabbos. These things you can now. These things are tzarech moed. Mashma, even if you can complete them, you don't begin. Maya afilu, lav afilu hani. Even those till it's tzarech hamoyed migmar in, you can complete them, but it's schulei loy, right? So now, if something that's a tzarech hamoyed you can't begin, you can complete, but you can't begin. Mechlal l'shloy l'tzarech migmar nami loy garminan. You don't complete. Even if you began something before the 14th, something that you do not need for the moed, you would not be able to complete it. So I began working before the moed. Comes your daled. I have in front of me something I need for the moed, complete it. I have in front of me something I don't need for the moed, don't complete it. Says Malay, if I don't need it for the moed, since I began, I could complete it. Even though I don't need it. If I began before the 14th, I can complete it. What's the afilu? Afilu haninami, even these small things, which you can do very quickly. The zutri ninu, they're small. The salkadat chaminan has ka'ol and zuhi gemar malachton. Mashmalon that what? You would think that since you can complete it, you can even begin it, because I would think the beginning is like completing, right? So I might think nami lechatchila kamashmalon, you can't begin. So far, what do we have so far? According to this, we have a shiloh. I know I can begin something on the moed. I can't begin anything yudalid. I can't. What's that speaking about? But if I begin, I can complete it. Are we speaking something that what you need for the moed? Only that you complete, but something I don't need from the moed, I can't. Or no, or even something that I don't need for the moed, I could complete. So Gemara is holding right now. We don't know. We haven't been pushed the shiloh yet. Tashma, let's be pushed the shiloh. Anything that's necessary for the moed, amid base. Anything that's necessary for the moed, goimra ba'arba asa. You can complete it on the 14th. Amosai, when is that? Is manshem hiskel b'koidim arba asa. That's dafka with a joiner that you went ahead and began before the 14th. Avalei hiskel b'koidim arba asa. If you did not begin, this is a very chometic geshita. If I didn't begin, la yaskel, do not begin ba'arba asa. I feel it silsil cotton. I feel it with safla katana, a small belt or a small earnet, which I can begin and complete. Litzarch moed, which is necessary in shalei litzarch moed loy. So therefore, only what if even tzarch moed in. If I began shalei litzarch moed loy. So therefore, litzarch moed you would not be able to complete, but no one holds you could begin. Says no. Who adin I feel shalei litzarch nami gamrinon. Well, kamashman that feel the tzarech hamayid migmar in is chulei. The chiddush is that you can't begin something. Tashma, let's be pushed the shaila, and this is going to hold. Anything that is necessary for the mayid, goimra ba'arba asa, you can complete it on the 14th. And if I don't need it for the mayid, asa, it's asa to complete. The oisim malacha ba'arba pesachim ad chatzais the makmashnago. Right? And you can do malacha. So we're concluding that you cannot begin on the 14th something that's tzarech moed. You can complete something that's a tzarech moed, but you can't begin. Makom shnago in, leinagu loy. Shmamina, the tzarech moed in, shle tzarech moed loy. Shmamina. So you can be pushed to shaila. So again, let's conclude. If it's something that's necessary for the moed, if I began before the 14th, I can complete it on chatzai. I can complete it. If it's something that I don't need for the moed, then I won't be able to complete it. Now, Shaila is this speaking about a place that does malacha or a place that doesn't do malacha? What's the Gemara speaking about? That's a big machloikas mishonim between the Rambam. That's a machloikas mishonim between the Rambam and everybody else. So listen to the Mechaba paskins like the Rambam. The Mechaba paskins like the Rambam. Shitas HaMechaber. Afilu b'makom shenagu lasos malacha. Even in a place where you usually go to work. Lo yaschil b'tchila melacha. You should not begin ba'arba asa. Even if you can begin. So you hear this. It's a place where they do work. The chumrah is that you can't begin even if you can complete. The three that we're going to see, the barber and the tailor and the laundromat. In a place they know to do, they can begin. Okay? Now, Shitas Harama, the Eish Makil and Loimar, Sholosh Shimonias Hanaskor Mitchila Voisamat Chatzois, Afil B'Makum Shinagu Shaloi Lasois. So the Rambam, guys, says our whole Gemara is speaking in a place where the minhag is to do work. Even in a place where there's minhag to do work, there's limitations. Such as if you didn't begin on the 14th, you can't complete. The other three, they could do work, even though what? But no one else could work. So now, unless again, you began before him. The other Rishonim, they learn, no, Agamar is speaking in a place where what? That you're not supposed to do work. And nonetheless, even though you don't work, since you began before, you can complete. And it's speaking of, but if it's a place where you do malacha, go ahead and do malacha. So if you began before nates, any other profession, even though it's a place where you usually don't work. Right? Yeah, so it's very geschmack, guys. The whole dialogue of the Gemara here, what is it speaking about? Is it speaking about a place where the minhag wasn't to work, or it's speaking about a place where the minhag was to work? Like the Rambam, it's speaking about the minhag was to work. So therefore, the only people which we allow to go ahead and do work if they didn't begin are the three. Right? Are the three: the barber, the tailor, and the laundromat. Anybody else? No. Even though what? Why? Because you can't complete it. If you began before you dalid in a place where you know the malacha will allow you to complete it, but in a place where you were know to do malacha, you can't begin your dalid even if you could complete it. That's the Rambam. Very shver shita. The other Rishonim, and that's who the Ramah Paskins like, this whole Gemara, Al-Gemara is speaking about a place where you don't do malacha. You don't do malacha. However, since you don't do malacha, if you had begun before the 14th, you can complete it. Right? And these other three, even if they didn't begin, they can do it. Well, what about a place that does do malacha? We're not discussing that. Go ahead and work until Chatzos. Beginning, ending, we don't care. You hear the machlokes, guys? It's a huge machlokes. Okay, great. Those are tailors. Again, our rule of thumb: if they did avoida on Cholamoid, which is more chomer, certainly it will be permitted what on Yudalid Nisan. Hasaparin, barbers, koivsim, launderers, shekain. Someone comes from overseas. Someone gets out of prison. Misapin is able to take a haircut. Mechamsin is able to wash his clothing. So since there's a tzad het on Cholish Shamoid, these three, again, according to the Rambam, in a place where they do malacha, or according to the other Rishonim, in a place where they don't do malacha, would be able to go ahead and work with Yudalit. Because why? Because Cholamoid is much of a chamer, and they can work Cholamoid, so certainly they can work what? On Yudalit. I guess Rabbi Yehuda Ayman Afarat Sonim, he said even shoemakers would be able to go ahead. Now they would be able to repair shoes. Why? Shekain oile regolim misaknin. The people oile regal, they would fix their shoes. Min aleim b'chol shamayit. The ma'kamifli. What's the machlokes between Rav Huna and Rav Yosi? Masava lemeidim tchilas malacha meisayf. One holds that what you learn out making shoes from the end. In other words, just like malacha, just like making shoes, you could fix them. One says we learn out just like you can fix the shoes, you also can make the shoes. That's Rabbi Yosi. Rav Huna said no. Just because you can fix them from on the regal doesn't mean you could begin making them. Therefore, he disagreed and he limited it to those three and not Ratzanim. He did not include people who could go ahead and make shoes.
How come these three get a heter? What happens if I need something and I can make my own shoes? Well, I have a problem. My clothing are not clean.
What do you mean?
I remember somewhere where they have a job or something for Panasa, but still doesn't help me. I can't understand. I never understood this. Why they? I can see the guy comes.
Let's go. Okay, let's go. Let's go according to the what we hold like. These three are getting a heter in a place where they don't do work.
Right.
In a place where you do work, everyone's mutter.
So in a place where you don't do work, why can't I do something if I have to clean my clothes?
Of course, the minig is not to do work, and the whole.
So how are they allowed to do the work then?
Oh, because they're allowed to work in Chol Hamoed.
So the next question: how come they could do it in Chol Hamoed and I can't?
Because I'm saying because they're experts. This is what they do for a living. You're not a barber. You're not a kaivis. You're not. I mean, I assume if you want to cut your own hair, you could. If you get out of prison,
my clothing are dirty. Why am I any different than a professional launderer?
Because, again, in those days, I guess again, I'm not putting my suit in the washing machine. I mean, these are jobs that the rule of thumb is since Chalash Moed was permitted, it's permitted Yudalit. Again, most people did not cut their hair. Most people did not go ahead and do these things. So you went to an omen. So this is a profession that is permitted. Again, what you want to do as an individual, can you
same
go ahead
problem.
could you cut your own hair?
Shirt, but I could bring my shirt to the cleaners.
Only if you get out of prison.
No, it's for a haircut.
Again, Kaivis it says also wash your clothing.
All this only guy comes out of prison, shoes, haircut, and washing?
Not shoes, no.
What's the third one?
No, the tailor. A tailor you could do yourself. The other two is only guy gets out of prison. The tailor says since a head can make a stitch on Chol Hamoed, you can go ahead and go to a chayat, a professional. Again, the rule of thumb is once you're able to do a Chol Hamoed, which is more severe, you're able to do it Yudalit. Okay, now this is tircha and yontifs doing certain things. They've been discussing that. You go ahead to put back the eggs. A chicken runs off the eggs. You want to go ahead and stick eggs underneath the chicken. You could do that with your dalit. Since it's permitted in Chol Hamoed, you can do it on your dalit. But Tanagoylas, a hen sheborcha that ran away, it stopped brooding. Then machzirna, so you can put it back. The Gemara is going to ask if lechatchila I can put her there. I can put her back. What's the chiddush, right? Madach, I'm able to initiate it. Certainly, I'm able to let it continue. The Gemara is going to ask that. Then mesa, and if the chicken dies, you get another hen. Gorfim mitachas ragla behema b'yadalid, and yadalid you're able to clean out the feces of an animal from underneath its feet. Uvemoyed and Chol Hamoed, you go ahead and push it to the side. You can bring to and bring from kalim from the house of a expert, an artisan. Even though it's not tzarech hamoed. Okay, Gemara is going to qualify all three cases. First, the case of what? Of the chicken. Hashda suvi meisfinon. You're telling me you can initiate putting the eggs underneath the chicken. During me, boy, do you have to tell me you can return it? Of course you could. Says Ramabaya, that case of returning is not speaking about Yudalid. That's speaking Seifa Asan L'Chalash Hamoed. Now it's Cholish Moed, and I'm gonna put the chicken back. Why? Because that eggs are a davar avud. If I don't have the chicken on top of the eggs, I'm going to take a loss. So because it's a davar avid, I'm going to put the chicken back. So that's the din of Cholish Moed. Amrafuna says Afuna, Loishanu. We did not learn that you can return the chicken. It's within 3 days of its rebelliousness that it ran off. That as of yet the heat of the chicken, meaning the desire to sit and brood, has not left the chicken. And also, in addition, and in addition, it has to be that 3 days have passed by that the chicken has been offered. In other words, another chicken could have been, if 3 days after the chickens sit on, these eggs now are useless unless you go ahead and put another chicken on. In other words, after 3 days you can't eat them, but if you put a chicken on, they can grow into a chick. So when will I go ahead and allow to return? 2 things: one, where the chicken is going to do the job, and 2, where I'm going to take a loss if I don't, because in this stage after 3 days you can't eat it, and it's not going to be fertile. It's not going to go into a chick. But the Peseda law, Bei Legami, is going to lose the leg completely. It's a davar avod. If the chicken is off already for 3 days, the parchalit simramina, right? That, in other words, it's not going to go back. Or the shloishal shivasa, it's within 3 days where it still has some value. That katalet psida Bei Legami, lay madrina, then you don't have to go ahead and put it back. So after we put it back, you have to fulfill 2 conditions. One, the chicken is still has a ratzon, and 2, it's after 3 days that if you don't put it back, you're going to take a loss. However, if the chicken has no ratzon, and or the eggs are not, they're still worth something because 3 days haven't passed, then you don't have to return the chicken. Even 3 days we're going to return it, right? Even with 3 days, we're going to return the chicken. So now, mashma, within 3 days, guys, the egg is not worth as much as an egg that hasn't been sat on. Who knows what's in there? So you still could sell it, but not for as much. The Maikamefilki, Masava, Rav Huna is of the opinion, Lahefsid Meruba, Chashashu, for a large loss with Chayish, and therefore we're going to put the chicken back if the eggs have been 3 days old, because we're going to take a loss on the whole egg. Lahefsid Muad, a small hefsid, I'm going to sell an egg that's less than 3 days old, like Chashashu, and therefore we won't return the chicken. Masava, and however Rav Ami holds the hefset muet nami chashashu. We even chayish for a hefset muet. We even chayish for a hefset muet, a small hefset, and therefore we'll put the chicken back on. Okay, we've discussed cleaning out the stalls. We said on your dalid you can clean out from underneath the legs, you clean out the stall. However, on cholamoid you just masalik it to the sides. Tarabanan hazevel shebechatzer. So you have a chatzar, and there's zevel in the chatzar. Misalkin asel it stadim. You go ahead and put it to the sides. Sheba refit in the corral. Usheba chatzar. Maitzina asel ashpa. Says hagu for kasha. You just told me one thing. You said zevel sheba chatzar. Misalkin asel it stadim. Right? You said that zevel in the chatzar you bring to the sides. But hadar tani sheba refit. Usheba chatzar. Maitzina asel ashpa. Shver what? Chatzar to chatzar. The first chatzar says you masalik to the side, and the second chatzar says you remove completely. On Rabbi Lakasha, kam b'yidalid, kam b'chel shamoid. On your dalid you remove it completely, and on cholamoid you move it to the sides. Rav Amen no, haba haba chol shamoid. They both mean chol shamoid. V'achi kamar. Im nasa chatzar kerefet. If the chatzar becomes like a corral, meaning it's a mamish full of stuff, then matzina sela ashpa. Then you move it back to the ashpa. Even chol shamoid. The last end of the Mishnah, Malichin Kalim Meviyim Beis Umin. You can bring Kalim to and from Beis Umin, even if it's not Tzarech HaMayit. Amra Papa, Bodiklan Rava. Rava tested us. Tanan. It says, Malichin, you can bring, Umeviyim, and bring from. Malichin means bring to, Umeviyim, bring from, Kalim Beis Umin, and Afa Pishain Tzarech HaMayit, even though you don't need it. Uriminu Aleshu Estira, Meviyim Kalim Beis Umin. You could not go ahead and bring kalim from the house of the Umin, and if you're suspicious, lehen, that Shema Yignavu, then maybe they'll steal it. Then Mafim l'chatzacheres, don't bring it home. Take it and put it in another chatzah. Right? So we have a kasha. One place it says you could bring, and here it says you can't bring. Umishanino, we answered like kasha. Kan ba'arba asa, kan b'chol shel moed. On arba asa mevian you can bring. Chol shel moed you can't bring. You leave it there, and if you chayish the guy, put it in the chutzah next door. If you chayish it, put it in the chutzah next door. Now notice, our Mishnah said two. That said bin mevian and molichin. We only addressed mevian. We didn't address molichin too. So now we'll get to that soon. V'bay same another teretz to the contradiction. One place says you can bring, and one place not. V'bay same ahaba b'chol shel moed. It's both speaking chol shel moed. V'lei kasha kan b'maminoi kan b'shein maminoi. If you believe the guy, then a mevian. If you don't believe the guy, then mevian. I've Tanya, and here's a proof. Mevian kalim. You can bring kalim mibesa omin. Kigoin hakad mibesa hakadar. A barrel from a barrel maker, a kois mi besa zageg, and a cup from a glass maker, a glacier. Avaloit semer mi besa hatzeva, v'leikelu mi besa omin. You can't bring dye wool from the dyer or kelim mi besa omin because these are what shalot tzarech hamoyed. How? Okay, so you can't bring it. However, if the craftsman does not have what to eat and he's waiting for his wages, you go ahead and pay him, and leave it to him. And here's the proof now. And if you don't believe the guy, then you leave it in the house next door. So why do you maybe you bring it home. So the bottom line, what do you see from this brisa? It's not Vatanya Kasha, it's Vatanya Binichusa, that if you don't believe the guy, you're able to go ahead and bring it. Okay, now, you answered Mevian, as I pointed out. You did not address Molichin, says the Gemara. Taratzta Mevian, Molichin Kasha. Molichin, one place it says you could. Viktani A Mevian, Vikolshkein De Molichin. If you can't bring it from the Omen, certainly you can't bring it to the base of Omen. So now we have a stira. One place it says you could, and one place says you can't. What do you have to say? It's correct what we said earlier. The one speaking Yudalid, and one speaking Cholamoid, and they're both not speaking Cholamoid, and there's no distinction between Maimin and not Maimin. There could be a distinction, but it doesn't answer up the Brisa. The Brisa's teretz is on Yudalid, you can bring to and from, and it comes on Cholamoid, then you can't bring to. Have a very, very good Shabbos.
Shabbos, thank you. How are you?
Well,